Live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice.
This evening here on Hot Edition, presidential contenders to cough out some 100,000 Ghana cedis as Electoral Commission is set to open nominations on September 9 for the December general elections.
Also coming up, company at the center of the ambulance contract controversy. Service Ghana Auto Group denies any wrongdoing, maintains it was selected alongside other companies to handle the maintenance contract through a competitive process.
Also, this evening, Health President Akufo-Addo describes a Japadia document as a baseless document and a clear attempt to mislead and create distrust.
Much later on the program, Health Minister reveals government has spent 350 million cedis on Agenda 111, now 114, with no hospital yet completed. We'll tell you why as the minister appears before Parliament's Assurances Committee.
We're following the happenings at the University of Cape Coast as well, where the UTAG of the University of Cape Coast has rejected the termination of the Vice-Chancellor's appointment, demanding the withdrawal of the said letter communicating his termination as the UCC Vice-Chancellor. We have details of that as well as the latest on your election command center as we build us strongly to election 2024.
For now, though, Grace Hamwajiman is here with a summary of the news. Grace?
Yes, Beatrice, let's begin from the EC bit, where the Electoral Commission will open nominations for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections on Monday, September 9. The nomination period will close on Friday, September 13. In a press release on Thursday, the Commission stated that this process is in accordance with Regulation 6, 7, and 9 of the 2020 Public Elections Regulation, CI 127. Interested candidates can download nomination forms from the EC's website starting Friday, August 2. To other stories, the Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, SGAGL, has refuted allegations of inflated costs in its contracts for the after-sales service and maintenance of 307 ambulances. In a statement on Thursday, SGAGL responded to claims by the Member of Parliament for Norton, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who alleged financial improprieties surrounding the procurement and maintenance of the ambulances. The company says that the allegations raised by the MP are baseless and unfounded. President Akufo-Addo has charged stakeholders in the media industry to take measures that will safeguard the country's democracy as Ghana readies for the December 7 general election. Speaking at the Ghana Report Summit in Accra, the president maintained that spread of misinformation to score political gains undermine the country's security. The Ghana Journalists Association is also cautioning journalists to prioritize accuracy in their reporting, especially during election period, and to rigorously fact-check information before publication. The reminder was made by GJA President Albert Jumfo during the inauguration of a 9-member committee tasked with vetting nominees for the upcoming GJA Awards. That's it for the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwajiman. Let's bring you the details of our stories. And the Electoral Commission, AC, will open nominations for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections on Monday, September 9. The nomination period will close on Friday, September 13. In a press release issued on Thursday, August 1, that's today, the Commission stated that this process is in accordance with Regulation 6, 7, and 9 of the 2020 Public Elections Regulations, CI 127. Interested candidates can download nomination forms from the EC's website starting Friday, August 2. That will be tomorrow. The filing fee for presidential candidate is set at 100,000 Ghana cedis, with a reduced fee of 75,000 Ghana cedis for female candidates and persons with disabilities. Nomination forms will also be accepted between 9 a.m. and 12 noon, and again from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. each day during the nomination period. So let me run you through some more details. Now, a candidate for election as president shall be nominated on the official nomination forms of the Commission. Completed presidential nomination forms for each candidate for president shall be signed by A, the candidate, B, not less than 2 persons who are registered voters of each district assembly. Also, the completed nomination forms shall designate the person to serve as vice president. And then the nomination forms shall be in quadruplicate and shall be delivered personally by the presidential candidate or any 2 of the registered voters who signed the nomination forms for the candidate. There's some more here. In terms of the submission, the candidate shall submit 4 copies of a recent postcard, bust-sized, photograph against a red background showing the full face and ears of the candidate to the returning officer. Let me just bring you the last bit of this, and it has to do with the filing fee, which is that candidates vying for the position of president will be required to make a payment of 100,000 Ghana cedis, which is something I have just run you through. And we'll shortly be speaking to one of the presidential candidates preparing to participate in this year's presidential elections. Let's speak to flag bearer of the All People's Congress, APC, Hassan Ayariga, who still thinks the amount is just too high, especially for smaller political parties. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening to you and good evening to your cherished listeners.
The EC has consistently explained that every serious political party ready to man the affairs of this country should be in the position to easily raise such amounts. So why the complaint?
Is it about a serious political party? Is it about monetization of our electoral processes? Or is it about selling our presidency to the highest bidder? The mere fact that you have 100,000 Ghana cedis to pay does not mean that you are serious. And the mere fact that the EC is requesting for 100,000 does not mean that those who can afford are better than those who cannot afford. The point of the matter here is that we have an economy, a capital income of the Ghanaian economy very low, that the salary of Ghanaian workers are below the normal range of UN approved salary, which is less than 5,000 Ghana cedis. Most Ghanaian workers' salary do not exceed 5,000 to 6,000 Ghana cedis. And if you have to earn even 7,000 Ghana, or let's make it so high that your salary is 10,000. The salary of a minister in Ghana is 15,000 Ghana cedis. So tell me, even as a minister of state, that your salary is between 14 and 15,000 Ghana cedis, and the EC is asking you, if you want to run for president or for parliamentary candidate, you're paying 10,000 and 100,000 Ghana cedis. Where did they expect Ghanaians to get the money from? They are actually, what I would say is that they are actually selling our country to the highest bidder, making it look like we are now voting for people with more money than more brains.
What, in your opinion, should have been the amounts the EC should
have been 10,000 Ghana cedis for the presidential, 1,000 Ghana cedis for the parliament.
You don't think the EC, the Electoral Commission, has a reason for setting the amount, that you think it just wants to take money from people like you who want to contest?
It's not like people like me. It's like every Ghanaian. Don't limit it to me. The situation I always talk about is not about Hassan Ayariga. It's about doing the right thing against the wrong thing. About looking at the standard of living of the Ghanaian society, their per capita income, their salaries, against what we are requesting for.
But that is on the average. That is on the average. And if you're even going beyond Ghana, there are systems in place that even check political funding and all of that, because it is expensive to run a political party and expensive to go through these processes.
Exactly. That is why there's so much corruption in the system.
But is that not why not every Ghanaian is also coming out to say, I want to be a president?
In actual sense, we should not be monetizing political campaigns. And that's what we're doing. I feel like you are approving the request of the EC for Ghanaian citizens to pay 100,000 Ghana cedis just to file. Not to campaign, just to file. So if EC is requesting a Ghanaian citizen whose salary cannot, if you ask a public worker to run for president today and he has to save money from his office, he will spend 100 years running and he can't raise 100,000 Ghana to file for presidential. In a more serious note, are we talking about political campaigns with ideas, policies, strategies, or are we looking at it on the issue of monetization?
You pegged the amount at 10,000, and per your own analysis, you would still understand that there are certain Ghanaians who cannot even afford that.
No, if you put the presidential at 10,000 and the parliamentary at 1,000 Ghana, it's fair. That was how much we used to pay until the new EC just came and raised it from 10,000 to 100,000. To 50,000, then to 100,000.
Ms. Ayaga, are you in a position to pay this because you also want to become?
I paid last time. It doesn't mean that if I am contesting it, I can't pay.
Is your party also in a position?
The point here is that let's do the right thing. Let's look. In the last election, I said this again. I said the EC was being unfair to the political elite. The EC was being unfair to Ghanaian businessmen and workers. Because people are paying, they assume that we have to pay. But the fact of the matter is that if we don't pay, then nobody is going to contest. But if the political parties are together and they decided, look, EC must reduce, must come out with the justification of the reason why they should be taking 100,000. We found ourselves. Not to talk of the parties in power. Those in power, they are being funded by the government they run. For instance, we take the President Baumia, Vice President Baumia. Today he's roaming around the whole country, okay, running his campaign. He doesn't even feel it. He doesn't care whether we ask 100,000. These are the people who should be coming out. You are Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. You should come out and say, no, it is too expensive. But he won't do that. The former president won't say that because they have people who sponsor them. They have people who pay for them. They have government resources at their disposal. They have every resources at their disposal. So what do they care? They don't care about how much the EC is charging. But the reality is that we are making life unbearable for our citizens. If EC, an institution that is being run by government and monitored by Parliament, and Parliament would allow EC to accept 100,000 Ghana's fees just to fight to be president, then I don't know what kind of country we are living in. If I am president of Ghana, I will make sure these things will never happen under my tenure as president.
Ms. Ayaga, the Electoral Commission is also asking for parliamentary candidates, men, to pay 10,000, and for women and those with disabilities to pay 7,500. Is your party in a position to field aspirants in all the constituencies and even bear the cost?
To be sincere with you, we are not going to file in all 275 constituencies. No, we will look at comparative advantage. Constituencies where we think that we can win and we'll concentrate. For instance, the 6 seats in Boku in the upper region where I aim, I'm going to file all 6 constituencies there. The 15 constituencies in the upper east, let me put it that way. The 15 constituencies in the upper east where I hail from, I'm going to file. The other regions in the northern sector where I think I have comparative advantage over other political parties, I'm going to put candidates. I'm not going to waste money on places where I know even if I file, I can win a parliamentary seat. I won't waste my resources filing there. Okay, so we are looking at filing a few number of constituencies that we believe that when we work hard, we are able to win those seats. Because right now in Ghana, it's not about policies anymore. It's not about the visions anymore. It's about he who has the money, he is going to win. That is why we have monetized everything, including the EC. So Ghanaians now believe that anybody they have to vote for must give them money. So in our desperation of changing NDC and MPP, we should be careful we don't vote for a lunatic who has money. Okay? So the point here is that where are we going as a nation? Are we doing the right thing against the wrong thing? I would say a big no. So filing the parliamentary candidate, we will do so, in the constituencies we believe, let me use that word, we believe and anticipate that we have majority of our voters there. And I'm being fair here.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much. And that was Hassan Ayariga, he's flag bearer of APC.
Well, let's say a bit further on this matter, because there are a number of other reactions coming through as well. You hear Hassan Ayariga talk about, Dr. Hassan Ayariga talk about how the MPP and the NDC may not be complaining about this because they are heavily funded, citing John Mahama and Dr. Mahmoud Bamia. But let's hear from the NDC as well. One of two major political parties in this country going into this election. Mustafa Gbande is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, joining us on the telephones. Mr. Gbande, appreciate you. Good evening to you.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
First off, now, so this is what the Electoral Commission is saying, that for presidential, in this case, John Mahama, for the NDC flag bearer, you're having to pay 100,000 cedis with a reduced fee for 75,000. That is, if any other political party comes in with a female presidential candidate. For the parliamentary, 10,000 Ghana cedis for your parliamentary candidates. I want to find out from you, first of all, if you share in that concern by, for instance, Hassan Ayariga, that this filing fee is too high.
Well, we would not say it's too high. It's very high. But again, we will not blame it on the commission. We will blame it on Akufo-Addo, the sitting president.
What has President Akufo-Addo got to do with this one?
Well, the economy is hard everywhere. Since prices of goods and services are increasing, fares are increasing. And so the commission will have to sell forms, as it were, to cover administrative costs and overhead. And so if they have to peg sale of forms at the price that is being sold today, it just demonstrates what kind of government is in power. It just shows what other people are going through. Now it's time for us as political class to feel the heat. Political parties are complaining already. How more the ordinary farmer who has been complaining for 7 years? So this is what it's a manifestation of the revealing hardship that people are having to go through. Parents go through the same to take care of their kids. Husbands and wives go through the same to feed themselves. Business owners go through the same to pay salaries. It is a turn of politicians. We can only change a bad government to reverse some of these things. NDC doesn't think that we can hold Electoral Commission's neck on this one. We can only blame it on irresponsible governance. A governance that has prioritized stealing other than fixing an economy.
So
if we don't fix our economy, this is what we'll be having.
You put the blame at the doorstep of President Akufo-Addo for the Electoral Commission charging 100,000 cedis for presidential.
The president and the vice president who is running away from responsibilities of fixing an economy.
I see,
the same way, if you take a car from Accra to Bolga, the ordinary Ghanaian is paying 416 Ghana cedis. As compared to the past, it used to be 100 cedis.
But
how much by exponential increment do we have? A tin of milk in 2016 was 80 pesos. Today, how much do we sell? 8 cedis.
But, Mr. Gbande, if your argument is anything to go by, the Electoral Commission is only maintaining the filing fee for the 2020 presidential parliamentary elections in 2024. So I'm coming to that point. Let me, Mr. Gbande. So if you're saying that they maintaining the filing fee of 2020-2024 is a reflection of the hardship, I want to understand how you connect that.
In 2020, today you don't have the money to pay. So even prices that are maintained, you don't have the money. Your business is collapsed. Even for politicians or business owners, the government will not pay you because they have prioritized the syndicate of corruption than any other person. The president and his daughters are competing over businesses from businessmen. So even if the price is the same, you will feel the heat of having to pay. A salaried worker like yourself, how much has been increased in the last 7 years? Haven't you have to go and cough money to buy fuel at the filling station? Don't you buy call credit at an exponential rate? Don't you buy mobile phones Don't you feed your family where you have to buy milk and go to the house to feed my siblings or brothers? You feel the heat. So that is just telling you where we have reached. Now politicians are complaining because they cannot cost 100,000 to pay filing fee, but they were able to afford it in 2020.
Well, Hassan Ariga,
where we have reached.
Dr. Hassan Ariga, who says he speaks and reflects the concerns of a number of these smaller political parties, is saying that it should be reduced to 10,000 CDs. That's from 100,000 to 10,000 CDs for the presidential, and for parliamentary, 1,000 CDs. Against
what Hassan Ariga is proposing, but the NDC haven't taken a concrete position as to whether we need reduction or not. But we know practically that it's just a reflection of the kind of hardship we have in the country. If the same people can pay the same thing in 2020, but yet today it cannot pay, then it should tell you that we are going backwards. It should tell you that our lives have not been positively impacted. If I could afford 1,000 cities in 2020 and today I can afford the same 1,000, it should tell you where I stand. It should tell you where I stand. Clearly, people are hard pressed. Clearly, the stress level is going up. Clearly, people are frustrated. Clearly, people are financially fatigued because we have a government that refuses to take responsibility, a government that continues to lie. The worst is when a president is also joining the lying queue. Today, President Akufo-Addo is lying and saying that certain things that they have been exposed of is just being cooked by opponents. I mean, when a president speaks like that, it beats my imagination where we have come to as a country.
So for you're not going to contest the amount. You will pay the 100,000.
We haven't taken a decision yet. When the party takes a decision on it, we'll speak to it. But I do know that we haven't taken a decision yet. If my boss takes a decision at the upper level, I'm sure that he will pass it on me to speak to it. But in the meantime, we do know that the complaints are coming from a manifested stress that Ghanaians are going to as far as the economic impact is concerned. People are devastated. Hassan Ariga and his party cannot pay. Other political parties cannot pay because they are feeling the heat.
Well, Mustafa, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mustafa Monday is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Here on your election command centers, the Electoral Commission will open nominations for the 2024 presidential parliamentary elections on Monday, September 9. Nomination period will close on Friday, September 13. A number of the political parties, which you'll be describing as smaller political parties in this sense, have raised concerns about the amount for the presidential, that's 100,000 CDs, and parliamentary for 10,000 CDs, all who want to contest going into election 2024. And for the NDC, they are yet to take a decision on the amount.
But you heard him say that he wouldn't disagree with Hassan Ariga.
Yeah, it says they are yet to speak officially on the matter.
Anyway, let's bring you some more here. And the company at the center of the ambulance contract controversy, Service Ghana Auto Group, has denied any wrongdoing. A statement issued by the company maintains that it was selected alongside other companies to handle the maintenance contract through a competitive process. North Tongue MP Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa had alleged Service Ghana Auto Group had won the ambulance maintenance contract due to its ties with the First family. He also alleged that the contract sum for spare parts were bloated and far in excess of even the price for each vehicle. The company in a statement maintains it won the contract through a competitive bidding process as a consortium of 7 companies. On the cost of the contract, the company says the $113,000 per ambulance, as stated by the legislator, is inaccurate. The contract sum, it explains, covers mechanical and medical spare parts. It adds it has so far supplied 45,000 of such items to the ambulance service. Joseph Akable is a senior court correspondent. He joins us live in the studio now. Joe, I know you've got other details in terms of the response from Service Ghana Auto Group.
Yes, and so first, the company deals with the allegation at a general level, and it makes the point that they take a serious view of the utterly false claims and outright lies about its contract with government for after-sales service and maintenance of 307 ambulances. It proceeds to serve notice on those peddling the false allegations, including the media, without attempts to verify, saying that they are particularly the unprofessional and uncritical media shall be held liable for reckless damage to genuine business and reputation. Now, the company then proceeds to deal with the specific allegations that have been made. You recall that the publication by the legislator had made a point that in terms of the incorporation document, it thus appeared that at the time the company was handed the contracts, the company had not been incorporated. Now, the company offers the explanation that it is a consortium of 7 companies that were part of 16 companies that participated in the bidding process. And so the 7 companies were eventually selected to execute the contract. And so they came together to form the consortium. And they list the 7 companies here. One is Luxury World Auto Group Limited, Eloc Consult, RDC Company Limited, Beft Engineering Works Limited, Prestige Era Company Limited, Blue Mix Company Limited, and Quality Supply and Builders Company Limited. And so that is it with regards to the nature of the contract. Then the bit about the cost. You recall he had said the amount seemed bloated as the sum per vehicle was even more than the cost of a new ambulance.
Indeed.
The company explains that it is budget for spare parts for 5 years. Also, it has to do with mechanical and medical spare parts, and so not just spare parts, but rather medical.
So let me get that again. It is so the $113,000 per ambulance is not just for once you're buying the spare parts just once. It is spread over a period of 5 years.
5 years, yes. And it also covers mechanical and medical spare parts, which the company describes as essential items. In fact, it goes on to say that over 45,000 of such items have been supplied to the National Ambulance Service since the ambulances were delivered, and payment for some consignments have been in arrears, and a recent shipment financed with loans by the companies on its way to Ghana. I know a key aspect of this whole allegation has been the connection to the First family.
Exactly.
The company does not address that directly, but listen to the conclusion here. The company says, except that Stephen Okoro is a director of one of the 7 companies, a fact available to the public at the Register of Companies, the consortium, its constituent companies, or SGAGL do not have the associations falsely alleged, neither have they engaged in any wrongdoing.
But that's the name that came up in the claims by Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and he
two of the daughters of the president were mentioned as being on various documents connected to companies involved in this transaction.
And even the Okoro, there was another name to the Okoro,
yes,
right? There were 3 names.
Yes. But the company does not deal with.
And a certain, that's Stephen Okoro.
Yes.
No, but the Okoro, there was a third surname which the first family member had, but this one we're talking about didn't have.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So the company does not address that head on. It only makes the point that the fact that it's available, it says that its constituent companies do not have associations falsely alleged, neither have they engaged in any wrongdoing. There's no name under the statement, but we are told the managing director, SGAGL.
So this is a special purpose vehicle they talk about.
Yes.
So this SGAGL is a special purpose vehicle.
Set up a consortium of 7 companies that were part of 16 that participated in the bid. And once they won, they incorporated a special purpose vehicle to execute.
So there's another clarity I want. These companies that came together as a conglomerate, as it were, do we know what each of these members do? The reason, they went together for this very bidding?
That is not provided in the statement, except that a part of the statement says the companies came together leveraging their expertise and resources and emerged with exceptional value for money proposition in their compelling lowest bid of $133,000 per ambulance compared to offers by competitors, including Silver Star Auto Limited, ranging from $250,000 to $300,000 as revealed by the tender evaluation report. And so they say that their bid was actually the lowest, and the 133 per ambulance, like I indicated earlier, they say is for a 5-year period. It covers medical and spare parts, which they describe as essential items.
Before you go, Blay, you go.
The latest...
Okay. Alfred was going to give us Samuel Okudzeto there. We'll go to that. But I wanted to find out from you the bit about, these are serious allegations that have been made by the MP for North Tong. Did they, in any part of that message, give any indication of going to take the MP on in any way?
In fact, they make the point that, one, they look forward to sharing all documentary evidence available to them before constituted investigative authority of the state. We know that this is a matter that is already with the special prosecutor, and so they are saying that
petition
they have the documents available. Whatever investigative authority that wants those documents, they will make it available. Then they conclude by issuing the warning that they will continue to act above board, but persons who are engaging in peddling what they consider to be false information, they should take note that the company will take them on for reckless damage to genuine business and reputations.
Thank you very much.
Well, but while we are at it, I think that it's just be instructive to hear from someone who could Blackwood outline a number of the issues that the company sought to address, including some of the companies named in there, because Okucheto Blackwood makes reference to a number of other companies that Stephen Okoro is named as a director on, with the likes of Jankroma and then also Edwina. So let's take a listen to him, right? And we'll put some issue into perspective.
And I have the evidence of that. Their business incorporation documents. They first registered a company called SFO Initiatives Limited. Interesting name, SFO, the Serious Fraud Office. SFO. Very, very interesting. I like the names these friends choose. Very, very interesting names. SFO Initiatives Limited. They incorporated this on the 9th of August 2013. That's the date of incorporation, with a registration number of CS249512013. The directors in that company are Stephen Okoro and Jankroma Akufo-Addo. Jankroma Akufo-Addo. They are the directors. So this was in 2013. When her father became president, they decided to do more brisk business. So on 12 August 2020, they incorporated Good Box Limited. Good Box Limited. They said they were going to run gyms. Good Box Limited. Here again, you have Stephen Okoro. Then this time, you have Jankroma Akufo-Addo and Edwina Akufo-Addo, the directors. Stephen Okoro opted to be a company secretary this time. Interestingly, amongst the shareholders here, when you look at the articles of incorporation, you have KGL Capital, another interesting one. And then you have Kelly Gacheko, who was then an appointee of the president, the board chair of ECG.
Former board chair.
Very interesting.
But at this time...
So that's some Lokuta to Blackwood there, given these sorts of a number of other companies that has the two daughters of the president and this name, Stephen Okoro, this gentleman who has been named as a director.
The Alvin Manson you mentioned earlier.
Alvin as well, these four. So there are a number of other companies, about 47, some Lokuta Blackwood mentions, about 47 companies that through his investigation, he has been able to identify the names of either Stephen Okoro or the Marvin and the two daughters of the president. Some dating as far back as 2012. There's been others that were established for gym services and so on. So it expands into so many other sectors. The specific one that has to do with this ambulance spare parts provision is what raises some fundamental concerns and questions. And all what you are asking, Joseph, which this statement from the company doesn't address, is the specific services that these seven companies that came together to form the consortium provides, and reason why they got the best, as it were, proposal and were selected, because we've seen the same argument play out in the SNIT Rock City case as well, where SNIT's defense is that, Rock City provided the best proposal.
And in this case, they are saying the best because it was the lowest.
Absolutely. Right. So does that mean that we were looking at cost over every other thing?
Well, we hope to get the document because, if I heard right from the statement Joseph read, it seems like the company is willing to give us the documents that are needed for us to have clarity on this.
We'll see how things play out. We're trying to get on the telephone. Samuel Okudeto Blakwa. We understand that they are also caught up in the Government Assurances Committee sittings as we speak. He's the chair of the Government Assurances Committee of Parliament, and the Lands Minister, Samuel Abojenapo, is before that committee. In fact, the committee has instructed that he provides the details of all state lands or public lands dating as far back as 1993 to date. So also it borders on some of the issues that some of the Okudeto Blakwa has been talking about with respect to the sale of state lands.
I think a number of groups have been asking for that. One of the groups I remember has been Occupy Ghana, which has even gone to the extent of going to the Right to Information Commission to demand information from the Lands Commission. So let's see which answer the Lands Minister will provide.
See how things play out. But let's stay with the president, because he has described the recent Ejapadia document. You've heard about the Ejapadia document?
Yeah, it's been flying around recently.
He says it's a baseless document and a clear attempt to mislead and create distrust. Speaking at the Ghana Report Summit on the theme dealing with misinformation and disinformation in the upcoming election, President Akufo-Addo called on Ghanaians to reject fake news. Take a listen to him.
In the run-up to the 2008, 2012, and 2016 presidential elections, and Madam Sani, I'm not here to settle scores, I was the target of numerous false and malicious stories aimed at attacking my credibility and integrity. In 2008, baseless allegations of drug trafficking were spread, along with numerous rumors about my health intended to cast doubt on my ability to serve as president. President Kufuor was also accused in 2008 of having sold all of Ghana's gold reserves. Again, the 2012 election saw false reports of my alleged arrest in London for drug possession and fabricated quotes designed to stir ethnic tensions. In 2016, it was alleged by sympathizers of the opposition that I had killed my late wife. Today, with a few months to the December 2024 elections, they are at it again. A fabricated document entitled Ejapadia is being peddled around by operatives of the opposition as evidence of a grand scheme by my party to annex the assets of the state. These experiences underscore the importance of discerning truth from falsehood and the need for all of us to remain vigilant against the dangers of misinformation and disinformation.
Well, so that's President Akufo-Addo there talking about this Ejapadia document. And you know, he's not the only one who is speaking of this document, at least in the last 1 week. We can talk about the Ochen Osajifo Amotiofo-Epeng, who has also described this document as one that Ghanaians should disregard. Right? I want to take a listen to him.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. I was in my master. Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm going to be. Yeah. I got it. Yeah. All kinds of yeah. They're not possible. Yeah. I hope it's some. Yeah. I want to, and this is another thing. Yeah. 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 Yes, they are here. I'm here this master. I'm a telling. Yes, give me our boy. Yeah. Never before I was a master. Yeah. Sammy the Babu. Yeah, I mean, we are a yeah, we are not like I for another party now. Now we are talking. Yeah, before you address. Yeah. Yeah, graduate. Oh, Kazania, let's tell me about now. Yeah. The ones that all percent, all this together in town, yeah, and got a walker, yeah, and yeah, yes, I say, yeah, yeah.
Well, so that's our change Osajifo Amotiofo-Epeng there, reacting to the document. There's a Japadia document currently in circulation, and just a quick translation is saying that this is fabricated as if it was all part of the grand scheme to fleece Ghana, and that a document containing fabricated, revised, and concocted allegations was meant to fan the flames of hatred against the Achim people. Also explaining, in his view, that the genesis of the document started in 2016 was a desperate move by some political schemers, and this was addressing a council meeting at the Achim Ebuakwa State that was over the weekend, July 27. Ochiene said some people are deliberately working to denigrate Ochiman and make Achims look evil in the eyes of the public. Essentially saying that if you want to steal, would you put it in a book? That's the question, and I think that this same question is re-echoed by somebody else.
Yeah, a leading member of the governing MPP, Gabi Asare Chedako, has also spoken about it. He actually put it on his X page. He said, if you believe a family will document its alleged evil plans against the very village they proudly living, document it all in revised copies of a book, and impose a portrait of the head of the family boldly on its front cover, then please do have your head properly examined. It may help you greatly.
See, but you know what? There are a number of people who are still placing some premium on this document. And the details in there. In fact, if you look at the public that's commentary on this document, and even on our Facebook page right now, 3FM 927, there are varied reactions to it. There are many who think that this document should not be disregarded. Others believe that it should be treated with the contempt that it deserves. But the president is of the view that in issues of fake news, the media industry should take measures that will safeguard the country's democracy as Ghana readies for the December 7 general elections.
False narratives can distort public perception, undermine trust in our institutions, and even incite violence. As we have seen in various parts of the world, the unchecked spread of misinformation and disinformation can have dire consequences for democratic stability. The digital age has transformed the way information is disseminated and consumed. While this has brought numerous benefits, it has also created fertile grounds for the spread of misinformation and disinformation. Social media platforms in particular have become hotspots for the rapid dissemination of false information. The impact of misinformation and disinformation on the electoral process cannot be exaggerated. False information can skew public perception of candidates and political parties, leading to uninformed decision-making at the polls. It can also create confusion and mistrust, undermining the credibility of the electoral process. Moreover, disinformation campaigns often exploit societal divisions and amplify existing tensions.
That's President Kufuor there.
Let's bring you some more. Now, it's one of the flagship programs of the government, the Agenda 111, which has sought to construct 111 hospitals in the country. Well, now we are learning that the government intends to build 114 hospitals rather. None of the hospitals has been completed, but the health minister, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, says the government has spent $312 million on the project already. Listen to what Dr. Okoboy said at Parliament's Public Assurances Committee this afternoon.
That the contractor had to be changed for non-performance. So at a place, the new contractor who is now working fully came in some few months after various protests from when you are the deputy and your action is slow, you have problems. So contractor capacity also accounted for some of the timelines. And then I'm happy to say that when I checked IPCs that have been paid, Honorable Chair, the last time the state has paid over $312 million for IPCs, as in the work that is going on so far. And at the time I had this presentation delivered in cabinet, there are other IPCs that were being processed because finance had released
I think, I stand to be corrected, I think over $1 billion Ghana cedis to take care of more IPCs on the table. So, because it's the assurance committee, all I'll say is that it is our hope that those in Band A, at least they see the light of day, so that it will give hope to the nation that although this is a very bold vision.
You heard the Health Minister, Dr. Bernard Okoboy. Christian Yale joins us live now. He monitored this event for us. Christian, can you give us, or rather tell us more as regards this figure and why there's no hospital completed, yet we spent $312 million US?
Yes, and it is amazing. I mean, one thing that the Assurances Committee has been trying to find out is the fact that the ministry and government, as a matter of fact, has missed the completion deadline for the Agenda 111 now 114 project. And so as we speak right now, although this figure 312 USD has been paid, there is none of the projects, none of the hospitals that has been completed anywhere across the country. The minister rather tells the committee that about 28 are in a category of A, which are above 65% that are expected to be completed by the end of this year. Now, he cites a number of reasons like land issues and then issues with getting land in urban communities, contractor capacity, because this project has been entrusted in the hands of only local contractors. So there are no foreign contractors that are working on this Agenda 114 project. And so in some cases, the local contractors have seemed not to have the capacity to undertake the project. And so these are some of the reasons that he cited for the delay. But this is the amount that has been spent already on about 28 of them, which are about 55% complete, that are dotted across the country. So these are some of the things that he has been speaking about before the Assurances Committee of Parliament.
Quite interesting. $312 million and just 28 expected to be completed this year. But again, I heard you talk about the fact that this project has had issues with access to land. So why then is the minister saying instead of 111 hospitals, we should expect 114? I thought we didn't have lands.
Exactly the point. And it's one thing that members of the committee were seeking to get the clarity on. But the minister justifies with the point that there are some psychiatric hospitals that were not originally in the plan that have been roped in. There are some trauma hospitals that have been roped into the plan, which are actually taking the number from 111 to 114 because he explains that the rationale behind this project is to ensure that no one has to travel farther distances in order to get access to quality health care. And so even though there seems to be some constraint in getting the lands and even the funding and what have you to ensure that these projects are carried out, it is the overall or overarching achievement or goal of the government to seek that by the end of this tenure or even going into the next administration, all of these hospitals will be completed to ensure that across the country, every citizen can boast of at least a quality health facility that is closer to them.
What else came up during this interaction?
During this interaction, we've also had questions and answers concerning the shortage of childhood vaccines and other essential medication that are usually stuck at the port. And the minister blames funding for all of this. He mentioned the fact that currently, per the system that we are operating right now, funding for childhood vaccines, for instance, has to go through a whole lot of processes, capping at the NHIA, the National Health Insurance Scheme, and then it goes through a whole lot of channels before, the funding is allocated. And so he blames that partly for some of the reasons cited for the delay in clearing the childhood vaccines and also the essential medications that are stuck at the port. And so one of the recommendations that he has, brought on board, and he has already discussed that with the Finance Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, is that from the highest level, right from the budgeting of the national corpus, the national budget policy, there should be, a space for funding for vaccines, such that when the Finance Ministry is able to capture vaccines in their budgetary allocations. Once that is captured, it means that that is the final. Once an amount is put to it, it goes directly to wherever it goes, so that some of these delays in clearing them are dealt with. He also mentions the fact that, for instance, there are other countries that are implementing some of these things that help in clearing the drugs. Other things that came up include also the ambulance purchase and then the spare parts issues. And the chair of the committee, Samuel Okujo-Chablakor, who has also been behind some of the exposés that we've been talking about, questioned him whether he is aware, and he mentioned the fact that he cannot speak to all the details concerning this, but he is liaising with the experts who know more about some of these ambulances and the spare parts to get all the details, which he would finish the committee in the report to be submitted. I mean, a couple of reports have been requested from the ministry to be made available to the Assurances Committee, which would be submitted to the plenary.
Question briefly before you go. I know that Samuel Abu-Jidapo, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, has also appeared before the Assurances Committee. Can you give us details or just something brief on what he's been telling the committee?
So, he has also appeared before the committee, and a number of recommendations were made to him, and according to the committee, it has given him
I'm sorry, we just lost Christian Yale on there, but really some fantastic information coming up at the Assurances Committee, and I'm sure we'll get to understand a lot more detail as these representatives appear before this very committee.
Indeed, and while we keep an eye on that, we just got information that the University of Cape Coast branch of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, that's UTAG, has condemned the University Council's decision to terminate the appointment of Professor Johnson Nyako Bwampong as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. UTAG UCC has also asserted that the Council Chair's action is unilateral and not recognized, as it contravenes ongoing court proceedings that restrain the chairman and the council from taking such action. So we have a copy of the letter, which is pretty interesting coming at this time, because we got a copy of a letter, Beatrice, before 12 midday today, communicating the decision by the University of Cape Coast Council concerning the termination of the appointment of this Vice Chancellor. Apparently, that letter communicating the termination of appointment was written and signed by the chair of the council alone, without the other members. So now UTAG is saying that whatever decision to terminate the appointment is illegal. It doesn't hold because it is the council's chair's sole decision, and it does not reflect that of the council.
Something brewing within our universities, because you know something is also happening at the KNUST as well, and they've even gone to court on that, but we'll bring you all of those details later. Manoa Fall is standing by with business, but before she comes in with the latest, step into the world of Dewa 539 for your chance to win big with Dewa Direct and Dewa Chop Money. With Dewa Direct, dial star 446 hash, pick 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times your stake, and win cash every evening at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 6 p.m. Early birds love Dewa Chop Money. At 10 a.m., dial star 446 hash, choose 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times. Play at dewa-nla.com or dial star 446 hash. Need help? Call 055-6259-249 or 053-2479-879. Dewa Afa.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Ghana Gas Company allays fears of LPG shortage and power disruptions amid scheduled maintenance shutdown. We'll bring you details. My name is Menua Foldu. Stay tuned. We'll go straight to first story. The Ghana Gas Company Limited has assured the public that its scheduled maintenance work over the next couple of weeks will not impact power generation in the country. In an earlier statement, management of Ghana Gas Company Limited announced that it would undertake critical maintenance work on its gas processing plants and offshore gas export facilities. These operations will be shut down from 1st to 7th August 2024. Speaking to the media, head of corporate communications at Ghana Gas, Ernest Kofi Owusu-Bempah, stated that adequate arrangements have been made to ensure a continuous gas supply to the various power generation plants during this period.
It's very important that as a company we adhere to the protocols and do the right thing to make sure that the facility has an efficient, uninterrupted operational activities going on within the gas processing plant. And so we decided, per the protocols, do a critical maintenance, and that is to change a lot of things and also make sure that the gas processing plant lifespan is maintained. Is one of those things that we do. We'll want to assure the general public that there's not going to be an interruption with any power generation for the country, because we made an alternative lean gas which is going to flow from Sankofa OCTP, which will be available for delivery for TDC, Takoradi Distribution Station, for Abuazi Thermal Plant for power generation. So basically, we've made an alternative for that, which is part of the combination of the tie-in of the three sources of power, source of gas flow for power generation.
Head of Corporate Communications at Ghana Gas, Ernest Kofi Owusu-Bempah there. Now, licensed Forex Bureau operators have commenced training to acquaint themselves with new trading directive from the Bank of Ghana, which takes effect today, August 1, 2024. The Bank of Ghana launched a centralized foreign exchange trading platform for the buying and selling of foreign currencies. This initiative is in line with the objective of the central bank to ensure the integrity and development of the financial system, the Bank of Ghana said. Three business engaged some licensed operators, and this is what they had to say.
For now, they just bought me a new laptop to install the app for it, so I haven't started yet. Yeah.
We have an existing software which we are all using, all foreign bureaus are using, but they are not doing away with it immediately because we are still under training. So when we are done, then the Bank of Ghana will then say that we should do away with our existing, the old system, and then migrate fully live on the new system.
Well, those were some licensed Forex Bureau operators sharing their experiences as Bank of Ghana's centralized trading platform takes effect today. Before we go, consumer advocacy group CAT International, in collaboration with the Consumer Protection Agency, have reviewed plans to petition Parliament over delay in the passage of the Consumer Protection Bill. The draft bill, which was introduced for the first time in 2006, seeks to empower, protect and enhance the welfare and interest of the consumer, to promote a fair, transparent and efficient marketplace, as well as prohibit certain unfair practices. Speaking to 3 Business, Regional Director of CAT International, Apiakusi Adumakun, expressed disappointment about the delay in passing the bill.
It has taken Ghana almost 18 years since we started the process of getting consumer protection law. About 5 governments have come and gone, and we've not seen any seriousness by various governments in terms of getting this law bill passed into law. With less than 5 months for Parliament to end, the bill has not yet made its way to Parliament. And I will say that the ministry that is responsible for getting the bill ready has not done well. You don't need 8 years to work on this bill. And so for 8 years that this bill has still not left the Ministry of Trade to Parliament, I think it's unacceptable. And we are appealing to the President, His Excellency the President, Speaker of Parliament, and also Majority and Minority Leader to ensure that the bill leaves the Ministry and come to Parliament for Parliament to deliberate on it.
That was Regional Director of Consumer Advocacy Group, CATS International. My name is Menu Alfred. Stay tuned. Sports News is up next.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. Let's start off from the Olympics 2024. A major saga has just appeared earlier today. Algerian boxer Imani Khelif is through to the quarterfinals of the women's 66 kg at the Olympics after her opponent, Italy's Angela Carini, abandoned their bout inside 46 seconds. Khelif is one of the two athletes who have been cleared to compete in the women's boxing in Paris, having been disqualified from last year's Women's World Championships for failing to meet eligibility criteria. The International Olympic Committee, which did not organize the World Championships but is running the boxing at Paris 2024, said welterweight Khelif was disqualified in India because of elevated levels of testosterone. And so this is the situation there. And of course, for Serini, she was in tears in the ring as she faced the media after the bout. And she was quoted as saying, "I wasn't able to finish the match. I felt a strong pain to my nose. And I said to myself, for the experience that I have and the maturity as a woman that I have, I said, I hope my nation would take it badly. I hope my dad won't take it badly. But I stopped. I said stop for myself." That is what Carini told BBC Sports after losing that bout. And so that is a controversy that is happening currently at Paris 2024. And there's some bad news for the 100 meters because Jamaican sprinter Shericka Jackson has withdrawn from the 100-meter event. And she, of course, had a knock some few weeks before the competition started. And I think that influenced her decision sort of to withdraw from the 100 meters. But she will compete in the 200-meter event at Paris 2024. And so because of this, Sha'Carri Richardson is deemed as a hot favorite in the 100-meter women's event at the Olympics. This is how Shericka Jackson reacted after the withdrawal from the 100 meters.
With all honesty, if you realize I'm not looking too sad right now, I'm okay, you know. Sometimes you have to prepare mentally, especially if you have a mix-up where you get a little bit where you have to really think about what it is, you know. And I think, as I said, it's a decision we're comfortable with. So we're okay.
A final question, how confident are you about the 200?
I'm always confident, whether it's 100 or 200. It's something that you go out there, you don't go out there like...
That was Shericka Jackson there speaking, a Jamaican sprinter who is one of the best 100-meter sprinters for women. But there is something for Ghana here. Rose Yeboah is expected to compete tomorrow morning at the high jump qualification in hopes of reaching the final and potentially fighting for gold. She's had a very great year in 2024, winning gold in the 2023 African Games and also winning gold in the African Athletics Championships in Douala, Cameroon earlier this year. And this is what she said ahead of the Olympic Games.
I can do better there because I've been taking my training seriously these days, and I think they should expect more from me because I'm gonna make everybody happy.
With this competition done and dusted, she's gonna make everyone happy. That is according to Rose Amwenima Yeboah. All the best to her tomorrow morning. But she's not the only person competing. A lot of African top athletes will be competing in the Olympic Games tomorrow, because the athletics competitions will start officially tomorrow in the Olympic Games. And my colleague Yao Ofosulabi did a wrap-up of some of the athletes, African top athletes, who will be competing in the Olympics.
Well, so the athletics always brings out the best in African athletes at the Olympic Games. Now, the most successful African country at the Olympic Games is Kenya. They have a total of 128 medals to their name, and one of the sure bets of a medal for Kenya is Faith Kipyegon. Faith Kipyegon started in the 1,500 meters at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, where she won gold. She topped it up again with another gold in Tokyo, and she's running again in this year's Olympic Games in Paris with just one objective: to win another gold. That will be back-to-back gold medals for Faith Kipyegon at the Olympic Games, and that will be really huge for her. She's also going to compete in the 800 meters and then also in the 5,000 meters. So she has a lot to do at the Olympic Games. Kenya's pride, Faith Kipyegon. Watch out for her. But also, let's move away from Kenya, but into the Southern African region, where Letsile Tebogo, who's only 21 years old, will also be competing. Now, don't forget that in Budapest in 2023, he won bronze in the 200 meters, and then he won silver in the 100 meters. This year, he's run 9.88 going into the Olympic Games. Can he get a medal for Africa in the 100 meters? We'll see when the 100 meters begin at the Olympic Games from early August. But it's not Letsile Tebogo alone who will be running the 100 meters. There's also Kenyan Ferdinand Omanyala, who will also be running in the 100 meters there. Omanyala has made every single final he's run in since he burst onto the scene somewhere in 2020. And he's really fast. This year he has a time of 9.79 seconds in the 100 meters, and he's in really good form going into the Olympic Games. Can he also be the one to rival Fred Kerley, Noah Lyles, Keishain Thompson, Oblique Seville, and all those other 100-meter athletes who are really, really good on the tracks?
That was a wrap there by Yao Ofosulabi. And that brings an end to the sports segment here on a 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Shen, and of course Beatrice and the rest of the team are on standby to give you more on the Hot Edition.
Thank you very much, Bill Ishan, for bringing us the latest in sports. You're still here on Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. Welcome to Campaign Trail. On Campaign Trail tonight, we start from the Electoral Commission because the EC is hoping to register at least 50,000 new voters onto the electoral roll in the next 3 days. The Commission's mop-up exercise took off today as the electoral body hopes to give persons who could not register during the earlier general exercise to do so. There's more in the following report.
Was generally smooth at the various district offices of the Commission. Concerns about potential system challenges were dispelled as district electoral officers reported an incident-free first day.
The applicants are trickling in one after the other. They walk in, they register, they take their data, they print their card and give them, and they walk away. Everything is under control. There is no hiccups or challenges along the line.
It's been a bit slow this morning. We are not getting the numbers, but we are hoping that as the day goes by or the days, yes, it will be okay.
Has there been any challenge with the network system, anything?
Yes, it started very well. It went off just a bit, but it's on now.
Party agents, while pleased with the smooth process, expressed concerns about low turnout.
The people are coming, but they're not coming in their numbers. So we are expecting that maybe by tomorrow or up to the last day, we'll see the numbers coming. But so far, so good. Everything is moving smoothly.
The people will not be coming as maybe you'll be expecting, but it's okay. It's quite well. The networking, I think early in the morning, we were facing some challenges, but now it's okay.
For first-time voters, the MOPA presented a valuable opportunity to participate in selecting their leaders.
I've come in to do my registration. I'm right in the middle of it. I brought with me my Ghana card, which of course was essential that it needed to be with me. And now the process is going very smooth.
I'm here to have my voters registration since I wasn't able to do it for the first time. So that's why I'm here.
I came in to register because I wasn't here before. I was not able to register before.
What questions are they asking you?
Where I live and have I voted before and all that, yeah.
I was not able to register when I was in school, so I came back to register over here.
The 3-day exercise intended to give opportunity to persons who turn 18 after the limited voter registration and those who could not register previously to have their names captured in the poll book has, however, begun to be exploited as some minors tried to register. The mop-up registration exercise is taking place at the Commission's designated 268 district offices, 26 public universities, and 41 prison centers across the country.
There was a news desk report. We're still here on Campaign Trail and women in Parliament, and some women groups have expressed hope that the affirmative action bill, which has been passed by Parliament, would achieve the set target if the implementation is carried out effectively. They say monitoring and education would be key to achieve the needed results. Evelyn Tengma reports.
Action bill has featured in many parliaments under the Fourth Republic and finally passed in the Eighth Parliament. The bill, which is to create an equitable society as well as address the socio-cultural, political, economic and educational imbalances, is expected to be implemented in both public and private sectors.
We also look at the trade unions,
We are looking at the political parties, and then we are also looking at the private sector, how we can lure them gradually to ensure that in their recruitment, in their employment, they will wear the lens to address the gap, the wide gap that we are seeing.
Having been passed, it awaits presidential assent for it to become law. Implementation is expected to start this year.
The law itself has some targets at the back. The law will start working from this year. So in the next 2 years, the idea is to achieve at least 30% representation of women in key decision-making positions, both in the public sector and the private sector. In the following next 2 years, 40% until we get to parity in the year 2030.
Chairperson of the Gender, Children and Social Welfare Committee in Parliament, Patricia Appiagyei, assured the public the President would gladly sign it, and the Gender Ministry would have to set up a Gender Equity Committee to oversee its implementation.
The Gender Ministry already have a communicative policy that they are going to adopt to ensure that they will create awareness and get everybody on board to understand. And initially, we were talking about equality, but in the consideration of the bill, we realized that we can never, ever achieve gender equality within the stipulated period that we are talking about, because as we speak, that there's a wide gap.
Convener of the Affirmative Action Bill Coalition, Sheila Menkan-Premo, emphasized the need for proper monitoring to ensure the bill achieves its targets.
They would have to find out from all the sectors where we are. In Parliament, we are only at 14.5%. They would have to look among the ministers, the cabinet ministers, there's a certain percentage as well. Everywhere, judiciary, there's a certain percentage. So once they get the baseline, every year they would expect reports from various sectors to see how far they've gone and measure to see whether we've reached the 30% or not. One of the things that's supposed to be done is the development of a register of women with certain types of qualifications that would be needed to fill in certain sectors.
The committee in the bill noted that it will be difficult to achieve the objective due to some traditional and cultural beliefs, but Sheila Menkan-Premo says a lot of education and sensitization would have to be done.
The only way to deal with those things is by a lot of sensitization, a lot of education, pointing out that some women from my community, where there's a belief that women shouldn't even go far in education, their main objective is to marry, etc. Women have risen and become doctors, lawyers, etc., and are also contributing their quota.
But already, some challenges have been identified in the bill that will have to be addressed.
The parts to do with political parties and how we want to see more women in our parliament. The provisions are not as strong as we expected it to be. But we are hoping that there will be some constitutional review, in the course of time. And we are hoping that the parties themselves, realizing the need to ensure equity, will make room themselves.
If the bill takes effect and one has to recruit 5 people, for instance, at least 2 will have to be women. Evelyn Tenkma, Accra.
And that'll be it for Campaign Trail here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But before we go, let's bring you this. The Non-Communicable Diseases Alliance has recommended that the government, among others, increases the budgetary allocation for non-communicable diseases to strengthen health systems and support health promotion and prevention. The recommendations contained in the NCDC's manifesto will advance the health and well-being of the Ghanaian population, but also reinforce the principles of social justice and human rights as enshrined in Ghana's Constitution. The CSO's NCD manifesto offers an opportunity to elevate NCDs to the highest level of political discourse and align political commitments with the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases to achieve universal health coverage in Ghana. Let's speak to Labarang Musa, who is the convener of the Non-Communicable Diseases Alliance. Joins us live on the line. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me, and greetings to your cherished listeners.
Let me first find out from you how Ghana is doing when it comes to non-communicable diseases, the situation, if you've got any figures at all.
Yes, so thank you. Ghana is not doing very well when it comes to communicable diseases, though there has been some interventions rolled out by government to ensure that we are able to reduce the burden of non-communicable diseases. So, for instance, we say that non-communicable disease is the leading cause of preventable death, and mortality in the world today. So the figures are very scary. At the global level, we have 41 million people dying globally, from non-communicable diseases, which represents about 41% of all deaths. In Ghana, the statistics says that 94,400 people die annually. 94,400 people die annually from NCD, representing 43% of all deaths. And we are told that the figures are likely to go up in the recent survey that is being conducted, which I know it will roll out very soon. This actually tells us that the commitment from various governments, today has not been very much, in terms of reducing the untold hardship that people with chronic conditions, because when we say NCDs are virtually chronic in nature, and it doesn't take a day or two to get over. So the cost of treatment sometimes is very expensive, beyond the reach of one person. So once somebody, is diagnosed with a cancer, heart disease, hypertension, stroke, or, sickle cell, what are you? All the NCD that you can mention of, then, everybody must come on board to support, because it's long and very chronic and not easy to treat, So, yes. So, and these diseases have actually been left for a long time without attention being paid to it, until probably when COVID-19, emerged. And you and I know that we are told, the statistics that over 80% of all the deaths that we recorded and suffering that we recorded from COVID were actually people with underlying health conditions. And who are these people? These are people, like I mentioned, who are mostly people living with non-communicable disease and other chronic conditions. So, which means that COVID-19 actually awakening us, and so governments all over the world are now putting, measures, to address, these concerns. In Ghana, if you listen to the Minister of Finance, for instance, he rolled out many interventions, which are very critical and crucial that the current government is undertaking or has planned to undertake, to ensure that the people who are living with condition are also have some level of, relief, because currently people are paying so much out-of-pocket payment, in fact, catastrophic, because you go to the hospital and you have to pay for every single drug that you buy, especially when it's non-communicable diseases, or you go and then you have to co-pay, where government pay part and then you have to pay part. There are instances where you go and then the drugs are not there at all. You have to go and look for your drugs somewhere. So the point for us is why is it becoming difficult for government to be able to to address these concerns? And that's the reason why we are coming up with this manifesto. We've been doing this for over a period now, where we don't focus on government, but our focus more is on the political parties manifesto committee, or political parties are currently going around and seeking for our mandate through us. So this, manifesto is actually for them to understand the extent of damage that NCD has befallen all of us, and then also propose to them some practicable, solutions. That are best practices used by other countries, and they are actually making a lot of inroads, in terms of, their health sector. One critical among them is this issue about the capping or uncapping the capped National Health Insurance levy, the 2.5, that's me and you, and every Ghanaian poor, the vulnerable, even those who go down who they cannot pay for their medical bills, are all contributing to this levy. Unfortunately, however, these funds are capped, and only about 25 to 30% goes to the National Health Insurance.
So, Mr. Musa, let me ask you, you're hoping that political parties will make this a priority as you find it. How are you getting this message across to them? This probably is the best time when, they are trying to tell us why Ghanaians must vote for them.
Yes, so, we've been speaking about this, throughout there. For some years now, we've been speaking about it. We know some political parties have picked them up, and then we are having some signal that some of them are beginning to address some of them. But we have actually come out with our own manifesto, about 9-page manifesto, which we have transmitted to the various political parties for them to consider, and then, ensure that they capture them within their especially taking our mandate. Because if I tell you the 94,400 people die annually from these diseases, many of them are not recorded.
So have you received, just for the sake of time, please, have you received any responses so far from these political parties?
We haven't received some responses that they are considering, some of the things that we have sent to them. We are hoping to have an engagement with them, one-on-one engagement, and that has actually not happened yet. But we are still putting in some measures to ensure that we are able to have that one-on-one engagement for us to get the assurance that indeed they are going to consider, especially the key ones that we think that when they do, it will reduce the hardship that people face when they go to the facilities, to get the care that they require.
When do you hope to have that interaction with the political parties? That one-on-one conversation you talk about?
A proposal has been made. We are waiting to hear from them when they are available to engage with us. So in fact, I remember in 2016, we did a similar thing. Some didn't engage us, but we have them, at least picking up some few of our recommendations in their political, party manifestos. And some of the things that I mentioned to you, as the central government has rolled out, some of them are...
Thank you very much, Labarang Musa, who is convener of the Non-Communicable Diseases Alliance. And that's how we end Hot Edition here on Sri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Do have a good evening and enjoy the rest of our programs.